Off session highs. It comes after the company released their Q3 earnings last night, beating analyst expectations, saying demand remains solid and they expect it to remain that way into Q4 and next year. Joining us now in an exclusive CNBC interview is Steel Dynamics CEO Mark Millett. Mark, good to see you. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's touch first of all on the pricing that we're seeing at the moment. I mean, you mentioned there that demand's expected to hold up. Can pricing remain quite as lofty as it has been?
Well, I think it may turn over a little as we get into the first quarter, but I think it's absolutely solid through the rest of the year here. You know, the supply and demand balance, it's very, very tight. Demand is absolutely incredible, to be honest, through almost every sector that we're in. Non-residential, very, very strong, driven by warehouse, retail. The change in retail buying from the consumer, driving, the Amazon type buildings, and then also cloud computing is driving warehouse space dramatically. So we're seeing backlogs at least about 10 months out. And you talk to the builders, they're having problems with labor, and all that's doing is delaying projects, and I think that will extend the construction cycle. You know, automotive is still relatively strong. It's suffering from the chip shortage, but nonetheless, the good news is you lost about 4.5 million units during COVID. There's massive pent-up demand there, and if you talk to the dealers throughout the supply chain, they just can't get enough inventory to sell, and that's going to extend the cycle too. So it's good. Manufacturing is strong. Energy is recovering. So the demand space is very, 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 very good.
And so you don't feel that any of this could taper off as early as Q4 or Q1, Q2 next year, if the sort of post-pandemic bounce abates? You think there's quite a significant and lasting backlog?
Yeah, as I said, I think it's going to turn over a little in the first quarter. The mill lead times are shrinking a little bit. We're catching up. We're just part of the shock wave that we've seen from COVID. So the mills are catching up a little. Inventories are starting to rebuild from historic lows. Imports are kind of inching up a little, but you're not going to see any dramatic surge in imports, which would be the only major driver of a material change in pricing. So a little turnover, but a very, very, very high, healthy environment for us going forward.
Mark, do you expect any change to the 232 tariffs, 25% on steel and aluminum, put in place by the Trump administration? A lot of friendlier vibe between the U.S. and Europe in the Biden administration. What do you think happens?
Well, I think obviously there are ongoing negotiations right now. We would anticipate that there will be some quota mechanism in place there to stop a surge of imports. The country is generally steel short. We need imports as a rule. We just don't need a surge of imports. So as long as when they renegotiate that, there's some safeguards there, I don't think we'll have a problem. For the rest of the world, I think there's been constructive dialogue by the Biden administration. They recognize that there's colossal overcapacity driven principally by China and other Asian countries that are sort of export economies. So they recognize the problem. Yeah, we're having a great time right now in our business, but the underlying drivers of global overcapacity is still there, and they recognize that.
Mark, are you finding it hard to find labor?
Fortunately, not really. We're blessed, through our profitability, through our performance incentive-driven compensation schemes. Our steel operators, excluding management last year, earned around about $105,000, $110,000. So our pay levels are much higher than most companies, and so we tend to draw folks in without too much of a problem right now.
Mark Millett, great to check in with you about the state of the industry. Thanks for joining us.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. Take care, Sarah.
Steel
Take care,
Dynamics CEO. Take care. When we come back, we will preview the key metric to watch when Netflix reports after the bell, the market zone. Coming up next, S&P up 0.6%.